Hello and welcome live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Gautam Roy, and coming up in the next 30 minutes, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurates 3 major infrastructure projects worth more than $482 million during his Kerala visit. Qatar and France help broker a fresh deal between Israel and Hamas for delivery of humanitarian aid and medication to hostages in Gaza. Pakistan recalls its Iran ambassador and expels Iran's ambassador to Pakistan in the wake of Iran's missile and drone attack in Balochistan against alleged terrorists. And China reports a record low birth rate in 2023 as its population shrinks for the second year in a row. First up, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurated 3 major infrastructure projects worth more than $482 million. Now, these include a new dry dock at the Cochin Shipyard Limited, international ship repair facility, and LPG import terminal of the Indian Oil Corporation Limited at Puttawepeen in Kochi. Addressing the gathering, Prime Minister Modi said that projects will further strengthen India's efforts towards ensuring accessible and affordable energy for all.
भारत का नेशनल प्राइड है। इसके बनने से यहाँ बड़े जहाज, बड़े वेसल तो आ ही सकते हैं, साथ ही यहाँ शिप बिल्डिंग और शिप रिपेयर का काम भी संभव होगा। इससे भारत की विदेशों पर निर्भरता कम होगी और जो पैसा हम विदेश भेजते थे वो देश में ही लगेगा। इसके साथ यहाँ शिप बिल्डिंग, शिप रिपेयर सेक्टर में नई स्किल्स पैदा होगी।
The Prime Minister also said that India is again emerging as a major center of global trade and India has started strengthening its maritime power. He added that with the unveiling of new features, the capacity of the Cochin shipyard will increase manifold.
Port, shipping और इनलैंड वाटरवेज के सेक्टर में ईज ऑफ डूइंग बिजनेस बढ़ाने के लिए पिछले 10 वर्षों में केंद्र सरकार द्वारा अनेक रिफॉर्म्स किए गए हैं। इससे पोर्ट्स में अधिक इन्वेस्टमेंट आया है और ज्यादा एम्प्लॉयमेंट जनरेट हुआ है। इंडियन सीफेयरर्स उससे जुड़े जो नियम थे उसमें किए गए रिफॉर्म्स की वजह से पिछले 10 साल में इंडियन सीफेयरर्स की संख्या में 140% की वृद्धि हुई है।
And Prime Minister Modi also attended a Shakti Kendra in charge Sammelan of the Bharatiya Janata Party in Kerala's Kochi. He stressed that despite opposing circumstances, generations of BJP workers have held the flag of the party high in Kerala.
बीजेपी आज पूरे देश के हर क्षेत्र, हर वर्ग की पार्टी है। बीजेपी ही एकमात्र पार्टी है जिसके पास तेज विकास का ट्रैक रिकॉर्ड भी है और भविष्य का स्पष्ट विजन भी है। ये बीजेपी ही है जो गरीब कल्याण को सर्वोच्च प्राथमिकता देते हुए काम कर रही है। हमने गरीबों को मुफ्त राशन देने वाली योजना शुरू की और अब इसे 5 साल के लिए आगे बढ़ाया है। हमने गरीबों को मुफ्त इलाज की सुविधा दी, गरीबों को पक्के घर दिए, मुफ्त गैस कनेक्शन दिया। ऐसी योजनाओं से गरीबों का जीवन आसान हुआ है।
And Prime Minister Modi offered prayers at the Guruvayur temple and Triprayar Sri Ramaswamy temple in the southern state of Kerala as well. He even fed the fish at the pond in the temple. Earlier, Prime Minister Modi was also accorded a grand welcome by locals in Kerala. People thronged on roads to catch a glimpse of the Prime Minister. The locals showered flower petals to welcome the PM. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken on Wednesday termed India as an extraordinary success story. Blinken hailed the policies and programs of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, saying those have been very beneficial to the people of India.
We see the remarkable achievements that Prime Minister Modi has achieved, moved forward under his watch that have materially benefited and materially positively affected so many Indian lives. We also see a relationship between our countries that is in a new place, at a new level. And that's been, I think, the very deliberate effort of both Prime Minister and President Biden, who believes in this deeply.
During an interaction at the World Economic Forum, the annual meeting in Davos, he also said U.S. President Joe Biden and Prime Minister Modi enjoy excellent relations and their conversations cover all aspects, including India-U.S. ties.
A constant, regular part of our conversation is the conversation about democracy, about rights, these fundamental concerns about democracy, about human rights. And we've done that. We do it in different ways, in different places. In some places, maybe it's more overt, maybe it's more vocal, and others, because of the nature of the relationship we may have with the country, with the government, it's part of a very sustained, very real conversation.
Let's get you more on what the U.S. Secretary of State said in Davos with DD India's Stuart Smith.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has been given his personal emotional reaction to what he calls a gut-wrenching conflict. He is still reiterating his desire to see a pathway to the Palestinian state, and he's asked on all parties to try to help rather than hinder the Palestinian Authority. That's different to Hamas, which is the group which is characterized as a terrorist group in the U.S. and the European Union, which conducted that attack on Israel. He says while Hamas should be destroyed and Israel agrees, he would like to see the Palestinian Authority brought in, because he says without their support and without the help of Israel in helping the Palestinian Authority come to power, there will be no solution here. The United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres has repeated his call for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire in Gaza and said that's the only way to eventually lead to a sustained peace. He says this is the only way to stem the suffering and prevent a spillover that could send the entire region up in flames.
Now, Israel and Hamas have reached a deal to allow more humanitarian aid into Gaza. Under the deal brokered by Qatar and France, urgent medication will be provided to hostages held by the Hamas. In return, Israel will allow more humanitarian and medical aid into Gaza. The mediating countries said the aid would leave Qatar for Egypt on Wednesday before being taken across the Rafah border crossing. The International Committee of the Red Cross will coordinate the aid on the ground. The United States has welcomed the Gaza aid agreement. National Security Council spokesperson Adrienne Watson said the Biden administration welcomes the announcement by Qatar on the deal to deliver medicine to hostages held in Gaza by Hamas. White House Middle East Czar Brett McGurk was also in Doha earlier this week for meetings with Qatari leaders on the same issue. And on Wednesday itself, loaded aid trucks entered Gaza through the Rafah border in the south of the Palestinian enclave, where much of the population is in a humanitarian crisis with food, fuel and medical supplies running low. Qatar and France had brokered a deal between Israel and Islamist group Hamas for medication and humanitarian aid to be delivered to civilians in Gaza in exchange for medication for 45 Israeli captives held by the Hamas. And the Israeli Defense Forces and the Shin Bet have eliminated the leader of the terrorist infrastructure in the Balata camp in Nablus, Abdullah Abu Shalal, in an airstrike. Shalal, who was killed together with members of his terrorist cell while riding in a vehicle, was said to be planning a major terror attack in the near future at the time of his death. The IDF claimed that the terror squad led by Shalal was responsible for one of the main terrorist infrastructures in Judea and Samaria. Shalal was responsible for a number of attacks carried out in the past year. Among them, the shooting attack in the Shimon Hatzadik neighborhood in Jerusalem last April, in which 2 Israeli civilians were injured. In addition, he was responsible for a bomb attack against IDF forces last October, in which 1 soldier was injured. The terrorist infrastructure in the Balata camp in Nablus, under the leadership of Abdullah, received funding and direction from elements in Iran in cooperation with the terrorist headquarters in the Gaza Strip as well as abroad. That's what the IDF has said. Meanwhile, the Israeli army also released a video on Tuesday showing another Hamas tunnel that has been found under the Gaza main north-south highway. Part of the footage was captured by a body cam mounted on a soldier going through a tunnel and walking around underground structures. The IDF says the tunnel was used by Hamas gunmen to travel between North and South Gaza undetected. The route, which stretches from hundreds of meters and is approximately 9 meters deep, was used by the Hamas for the transfer of terrorists from northern to southern Gaza and vice versa. The Israeli military also said on Wednesday that it eliminated a terrorist cell during a precise airstrike in the Balata camp in the city of Nablus in West Bank. The U.S. military carried out new strikes in Yemen on Tuesday against anti-ship ballistic missiles in a Houthi-controlled part of the country. The White House said additional U.S. strikes on Tuesday took out ballistic missiles Houthis were ready to launch. During the strikes, one of the missiles struck a Greek-owned vessel in the Red Sea. Attacks by the Iran-allied Houthi terrorists on ships in the region since November have affected companies and alarmed major powers. And France, on its part, clearly said that it chose not to take part in the US-led strikes because it wants to avoid a regional escalation. President Emmanuel Macron said the country has a defensive approach in the Red Sea and would stick to its stance. Meanwhile, in a bid to cut off their funding and supply of weapons, US President Joe Biden's administration plans to put Houthi rebels back on a US list of terrorist organizations. Also, the US has clearly said that they do not expect their strikes on Yemen's Houthi rebels to eliminate the threat posed by the group in the Red Sea. The country's national security advisor, Jake Sullivan, has said this at the World Economic Forum in Davos on Tuesday. He stressed that this goes way beyond being a regional challenge, as it is regarding vital artery of global commerce.
A coalition of countries to take strikes to degrade the Houthis' capabilities so their ability to mount sustained and complex attacks becomes more difficult over time. But we did not say when we launched our attacks, they're going to end once and for all. The Houthis will be fully deterred. We anticipated the Houthis would continue to try to hold this critical artery at risk, and we continue to reserve the right to take further action, but this needs to be an all-hands-on-deck effort.
Moving on, the US Senate on Tuesday took the first step towards passing a bill to keep the government funded until March. In a 68-13 vote, the upper chamber advanced a bill that will serve as a vehicle for the stopgap measure known as a continuing resolution. It would extend government funding deadlines to the 1st of March and the 8th of March to give both chambers time to approve longer-term funding. The vote will put the Senate on track to pass the continuing resolution before Friday. If passed, it will be the third short-term spending deal that the Congress has passed since September last year. Now, hours after Iran launched airstrikes on targets in Pakistan's Balochistan province, Pakistan has recalled its ambassador from Iran. Pakistan's foreign ministry also announced that the Iranian ambassador to Pakistan, who is visiting Iran at this moment, will not be allowed to come back. Pakistan has also suspended all ongoing and planned high-level visits with Iran in the coming days. In more updates from around the world, Romanian hauliers protested near Bucharest, causing over 2-hour delays at the Siret border crossing to Ukraine. The demonstration addresses concerns about high diesel costs, insurance rates and EU environmental measures, gaining support from farmers and hauliers alike. London, according to a report commissioned by Mayor Sadiq Khan, is ill-prepared for future heat waves, flooding and rising sea levels. The report, prompted by recent extreme weather events, emphasizes the urgent need for a substantial change in planning and investment. 2 U.S. Army UH-60 Black Hawk helicopters carrying aid supplies touched down on the earthquake-stricken Noto Peninsula in Japan on Wednesday. The scale of the U.S. assistance is expected to expand over the coming days. A rights activist in the Russian Republic of Bashkortostan was sentenced to 4 years in a penal colony on Wednesday after a court found him guilty of inciting ethnic hatred. Activist Fail Alisinov was accused of insulting migrant workers in a speech he made in April 2023. And still to come on DD India Live, China's population declines for the second consecutive year and also witnesses a record low birth rate in 2023. Russia says it's cultivating ties with North Korea across various domains, including those considered to be sensitive. And Apple overturned Samsung to become the global leader in the smartphone market.
This is Dashrath Mahal or Dashrath Palace, which is thought to have served the home of Lord Rama in his younger days and also served as a capital of King Dashrath.
राम राज्य पूर्णतः 22 जनवरी को वापस आ रहा है। हम लोगों में एकदम हर्ष उल्लास है। जय श्री राम। पूरी अयोध्या मालूम दुल्हन की तरह सज गई है।
राम राज्य के दर्शन करने सब राज आएगा। ये पृथ्वी का ना राजा राम जी है।
अयोध्या में राम जी का भव्य मंदिर, दिव्य मंदिर बन रहा है। ये हमारे स्वाभिमान का प्रतीक है।
Iconic Ram Ki Pedi or the series of ghats on the bank of much revered river Saryu.
राम जी का राज्य था, राम जी का राज्य है, राम जी का राज्य रहेगा।
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Gautam Roy. Now, despite opposition from Hungary, EU Chief Ursula von der Leyen remains confident that all 27 states will agree to jointly extend more financial aid to Ukraine. Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orbán has threatened to veto the bloc's $54 billion package for Kyiv. Von der Leyen's remarks have come a day after she met Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky on the sidelines of the World Economic Forum meet in Davos.
The last European Council has shown the political will to stand with Ukraine for as long as it takes. But we must back this decision with adequate funding. We have proposed to guarantee stable and substantial financing to Ukraine over the next 4 years. These are priorities that we collectively share. And we need this midterm review, and I am confident that we will find a solution by 27, that this is possible.
Russia said on Wednesday that it is cultivating ties with North Korea across various domains, including those deemed sensitive. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov's remarks followed a meeting between President Vladimir Putin and North Korea's Foreign Minister Cho Son-hui in Moscow on Tuesday.
Речь шла в целом о двусторонних отношениях.
They discussed
bilateral relations in general, the situation on Korean Peninsula, and an exchange of views on the most pressing international affairs. But the main emphasis is on the development of bilateral relations. And we have repeatedly said, and I am ready to repeat it again, that Democratic People's Republic of Korea is our very important partner. And we are aimed at further developing our relations in all areas, including sensitive ones.
Во всех областях, включая и чувствительные области.
China reported a record low birth rate in 2023 as its population shrank for the second year in a row. The trend marked the deepening of a demographic challenge set to have significant implications on the world's second largest economy. The National Bureau of Statistics reported a reduction of 2.08 million people, bringing the total population to 1.409 billion. Births in the country have been plummeting for decades as a result of the one-child policy implemented from 1980 to 2015 and its rapid urbanization during that period. Amidst these demographic challenges, youth unemployment reached record highs, white-collar wages fell, and a property sector crisis intensified in 2023. Concerns arise about China's economic growth potential as well, with fewer workers and consumers, while rising costs of elderly care strain local governments. Apple reclaimed the top spot in the global smartphone market, outpacing Samsung for the first time since Samsung surpassed Nokia in 2011. The latest data shows that Apple's market share has reached 20.1%. Samsung, in a long-standing leadership in smartphone industry, faced a challenging year with a 13.6% drop in shipment industry in 2023. The iPhone 15 series, with its advanced features and capabilities, has been a major contributor to Apple's growth during a challenging year for smartphone manufacturers. The Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency, or the JAXA, is set to make history as it attempts to land the country's first spacecraft on the moon. With its smart lander for investigating moon mission, Japan wants to become the fifth nation to pull off a fiendishly tricky soft landing on the rocky surface. Only the US, the Soviet Union, China and India have accomplished the feat, and Japan's lander, equipped with a rolling robo developed by a major toy company, is designed to do so with unprecedented precision. The descent of the lightweight slim craft, nicknamed the Moon Sniper by Japan's space agency, is scheduled to start at midnight Japan time on Saturday, that's 1500 hours GMT, Friday. The highly anticipated touchdown of the smart lander for investigating moon, that's SLIM, is scheduled for the 19th of this month, making it the first country to attempt to land on the moon in 2024. The SLIM mission, which launched on the 6th of September last year aboard a Japanese H-2A rocket, aims to demonstrate precision landing capabilities that could revolutionize future lunar exploration. And now let's get you all the buzz which is being generated in the build-up to the consecration ceremony of the Ram Temple in India's holy city of Ayodhya on the 22nd of this month. In a unique blend of technology and art, the Indian city Hyderabad-based Sudhakar Museum has crafted a mobile masterpiece, which is a model of the Ayodhya Ram Mandir mounted on a car. Kanaboina Sudhakar, the owner of the Sudhakar Museum, has crafted the car so that local people can catch a glimpse of this iconic temple. The main idea behind designing this mobile car is that everyone cannot go to Ayodhya, so that with this mobile car, people can get a glimpse of the temple. A quarry in Gujjegaudanapura village in South India's Mysuru, from where the black stone was excavated for making Lord Ram's sculpture, is flooded with people who are offering prayers at the location. The devotees say they feel divinity at the spot where Lord Ram's sculpture was sculpted by sculptor Arun Yogi Raj. The Viksit Bharat Sankalp Yatra is being undertaken across India with the aim to inform people about the government's welfare measures by ensuring that their benefits reach the targeted people in a time-bound manner. On Wednesday, the Viksit Bharat Sankalp Yatra reached Janjgir Champa district of the Indian state of Chhattisgarh. During this event, information about the central government schemes was provided to people through the Viksit Bharat van. Beneficiaries who have availed the benefits of the central government schemes praised the government. The occasion also saw students presenting an attractive cultural program. And the Yatra also reached Rajasthan's Baran district, where the villagers have benefited from the Indian government schemes. Women also mentioned that due to the Ujjwala scheme, they received free gas cylinders. And now some updates on the weather front. As massive series of winter storms has been sweeping across the United States, killing at least 9 people. Almost 80% of the U.S. is below freezing temperatures on Tuesday night, according to the National Weather Service. More than 1,200 flights were cancelled and 4,700 were delayed, due to which emergency was declared in 6 states: Arkansas, Alabama, Kentucky, Mississippi, New York and Nebraska. Schools also remain shut as winter storm has brought in whiteout conditions. Storm warnings are in effect for almost 125 million people as snow has begun to fall on the East Coast, affecting places including Pennsylvania, Washington, D.C. and New York. And a powerful storm swept through Western Australia, leaving thousands of homes without power. The intense summer tempest, accompanied by hail and fallen trees, caused damage from Perth Hills to Wheat Belt. With Perth experiencing a heat wave, temperatures reached 41 degrees Celsius on Tuesday. Western Power reported severe impact on up to 34,000 homes and businesses. And in India, winter has disappointed tourists in Kashmir's Gulmarg. Instead of wearing its usual white shroud at this time of the year, Gulmarg and most tourist destinations in the paradise on earth have remained snowless. Now, a young man, Abdul Majid Bakshi, has introduced a helicopter service to tourists to take them to Sunshine and Afarwat peaks to give them a snowy experience. Tourists are taking up the offer with gusto, and many are flying up to see the snow-capped peaks. Earlier, only skiers used to take the choppers, but now even non-skiers are opting for it to get a taste of Kashmir's winter wonderland. And that's all we have for this edition of DD India Live, but do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X as well as Instagram. We'll be back with more news and updates as we break here on DD India. I'm Gautam Roy, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Live.